As the days passed following the cultural presentation, the students and faculty at the Galactic Academy couldn't stop talking about the humans' childhood games. What had started as a simple exchange of cultures had turned into something much more profound. To the Threxians, humanity's approach to childhood was a direct challenge to everything they had believed about the safety and protection of their young. To other species, it was not just curiosity but concern. What kind of civilization allowed their children to be exposed to such brutal, life-threatening environments? At first, it seemed like a cultural anomaly, something that might be specific to the Earthling species. However, as more discussions were held, and as human students shared more stories of their upbringing, it became clear that this approach to survival was not just about individual parents or isolated incidents. It was part of a much larger, deeply ingrained philosophy that shaped the very way humans interacted with the universe. They didn't shy away from danger. They faced it head-on and adapted, learning from every encounter, no matter how perilous. The Threxians, despite their initial horror and disbelief, found themselves fascinated. They had studied human history in books and data files, but it wasn't until they saw these games in action, these human rituals of survival, that they truly understood what humanity had been through. They had assumed that humans were simply reckless, that they didn't understand the value of life. But now they saw that humans didn't merely value life, they valued the lessons that came from living it fully, embracing the chaos of the natural world and turning it into a tool for growth. As the days passed, the Academy's students began to ask more questions. The human delegation, led by Elena, were more than willing to share. They spoke of the natural predators of Earth, the massive creatures that roamed their wilderness and oceans, creatures that were both beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. They talked about how children were raised not in sterile environments free from the dangers of nature, but in places where they learned to navigate the challenges their planet threw at them. In one particularly heated discussion with a group of Rixari students, an amphibious race known for their underwater cities and highly cerebral culture, Alana spoke of the time she and her friends had played a game called the River Race. The goal of the game was simple: cross a river that was home to deadly aquatic predators. The humans had built rafts using whatever materials they could find, often rickety, poorly constructed things, hoping that they could make it across without encountering a large, predatory fish that lurked beneath the water's surface. "The thing about Earth," Alana explained, her voice calm and matter-of-fact, "is that we don't always get to choose the environment we're born into. We don't live in an isolated paradise. We have to work with what we have. And sometimes that means playing games where there's a real risk. But in those risks, we learned how to think quickly, adapt, and become stronger. Those games weren't just fun. They were how we trained ourselves to survive." The Rixari were taken aback by this concept. They were accustomed to safety nets, carefully designed environments that allowed them to grow without the interference of natural threats. To them, the idea of children purposely putting themselves in danger for the sake of learning seemed alien, even barbaric. But they couldn't deny that there was something captivating in the humans' approach to life. There was a kind of purity in it, a brutal honesty that many of the other species in the galaxy had long forgotten. While other races had developed ways to avoid the dangers of the natural world, humans had learned to face them head-on and to grow stronger from them. For the next few weeks, Alana and her fellow human students found themselves inundated with requests for further presentations, explanations, and even practical demonstrations of these childhood games. Each alien species had a different perspective on what they had witnessed. Some saw it as a form of recklessness, others as sheer madness, and still others as a kind of nobility, a raw connection to the universe that had been lost to time and technology. The next notable event took place when a group of Jenker, a reptilian race known for their instinctual hunting skills, requested a private session with Alana to learn more about Earth's childhood practices. The Jenker, despite their impressive physical strength and agility, had grown up in controlled, highly structured societies, where survival was primarily a matter of preparation, strategy, and order. Their upbringing emphasized mental sharpness, and they taught their young to prepare for survival by learning about danger from a distance, by studying it, and calculating risks with precision. The idea of playing with dangerous creatures was utterly foreign to them. When Alana arrived for the session, the Jenker students were eagerly awaiting her, seated in a circular arrangement, their eyes focused intently on her every word. One of them, a particularly large and imposing figure named Keshar, asked, "Why did your people choose to allow such reckless games? Wasn't there fear? Didn't you value the lives of your young?" Alana smiled, a little wistfully. "Of course, we valued life. But we also knew that life is unpredictable. That's what makes it precious. The fear is part of it. The danger is what teaches us how to deal with the unexpected. A person who has never faced danger will never truly understand how to survive." Kashar was silent for a long moment. The Jenker had no answer to that. They could understand the theory behind preparation and calculated risk, but they could not fully grasp the human need to engage with the rawness of survival in such an intimate and direct way. It was as though the humans had found a way to harness fear, to use it not as a reason to retreat, but as a tool for progress. In the weeks that followed, more and more alien students came forward with questions. Alana found herself explaining the concept of dangerous play in ever greater detail. She told stories of her own childhood, of moments when she had been faced with creatures far more powerful and terrifying than herself, and how those experiences had shaped her into the person she was. She spoke of the thrill, yes, but also the respect that humans had for nature and the creatures that shared their world. The games, she explained, weren't about proving superiority over the creatures. They were about survival, about learning to read the environment, and about finding ways to live harmoniously with a world that, at first glance, seemed intent on killing you. One of the students, Ayuthkari, a species with 4 arms and exceptional agility, was particularly taken with the idea of human survival. The Yithkari, known for their ability to leap great distances and scale impossible heights, were drawn to the physical aspect of the childhood games. They had heard stories of Earth's dangerous games and wanted to know how humans prepared for them. They wanted to understand the training involved in becoming Deathworlders. Alana's response was simple but profound. "We didn't train in the way you might think. We trained by doing, by facing real dangers, by learning from failure and trying again. It wasn't about perfection. It was about learning how to survive, how to adapt, and how to never give up." The Ithkari students, typically competitive and focused on achieving perfection in their physical feats, found this concept challenging. They had spent their lives perfecting their abilities through rigorous training and mental discipline. The idea of making mistakes, of failing in order to grow, was something they had not fully understood until now. And it left them with much to think about. As time went on, the reputation of humanity's childhood games began to spread throughout the academy. The other races began to see the humans not just as survivors, but as pioneers of a different kind of strength, one that came not from technology or calculation, but from raw experience, from the willingness to take risks and learn from them. But it wasn't just the students who were impacted. The faculty at the academy, some of the brightest minds in the galaxy, began to reconsider their own educational systems. Could there be value in teaching their children to embrace danger, to learn from it, rather than simply shielding them from harm? Some professors, especially those who specialized in survival and ecology, began incorporating human methods into their own teachings, advocating for the inclusion of real-world experiences in their educational models. As the cultural exchange program came to a close, Alana and the human delegation left the academy with a sense of accomplishment. They had not only shared their culture, but it also altered the perceptions of other species about what it meant to grow up on Earth. The legacy of the human childhood games that had once seemed like little more than reckless play had become a symbol of humanity's strength and adaptability. And the galaxy, once unaware of the true nature of the Deathworlders, now understood that humanity's resilience wasn't just about surviving the impossible, it was about thriving in the face of it. The Threxians, the Jenker, the Rixari, and countless other species, once sure of their own superiority, now stood in awe of humanity's unique approach to survival. The Deathworlders had taught them all a valuable lesson, that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from avoiding danger, but from embracing it and learning to navigate it with skill, intelligence, and a determination that could not be broken. And perhaps, just perhaps, they had begun to understand that humanity's strength lay not in conquering nature, but in living alongside it, never forgetting the dangers that it held and learning how to survive no matter what the universe threw their way. And so, the story of Earth's childhood games spread throughout the galaxy, a tale of human resilience and an unyielding spirit that would resonate for generations to come. The Deathworlders had not only survived, they had shown the universe how to thrive.